Hey guys, welcome back to another 20-minute pop-up. Guys, today's very special guest, somebody who helped our business tremendously. Leif Meyerson is known as the sales floor guy with 25 years, actually more than 25 years of building top performing high ticket sales teams for coaching pros all over the country. Today, he's going to break down powerful scripts and the exact way to talk to customers and clients so that you can hit your highest conversion rates ever. Super excited. He teaches sales teams how to close without sounding pushy and actually scale their numbers. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Closers Club. Leif, good to see you, my man.
Hey, good to see you, Dave. It's been a while and happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I definitely wanted to get you on. I think it's so important. There's so much mixed messaging out there about, how investors should be talking, at least to sellers, and we can definitely talk about buyers as well. But I know you specialize probably more on that seller side of the business, the front side. So yeah, what are some of the things that you're seeing out there that are actually really impactful that people should be doing? And then we can talk about some of the mistakes that they're making.
So I think the number one thing that I'm seeing when we're talking about the actual REI side of sales, when we're reaching out to prospective motivated sellers and things like that, is making sure that your tech is on point.
Okay.
So number one fall off that I'm seeing right now from both service providers and REI specialists is that tech fall off. So we're utilizing VoIP systems a lot, but we're not ensuring that there's not a gap between the time of the prospect's answer and our first words that we're sharing. So it's an immediate break in engagement. And anytime we're doing an introduction, so that's the first part of a sales interaction, right? We need to accomplish three things. We need to engage, we need to establish authority, and we need to frame the interaction. And based on what kind of call that we're having, whether it's a cold interaction, warm or hot, we have a different time frame in order to accomplish the first thing, which is engaging the person on the other end of the phone. And so I hear this all the time when people are using like automated dialers and power dialers through lists, is that tech creates a gap between when the prospect answers and when the sales representative actually engages in the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Breaks that and then ends up costing you massively for marketing costs and all of those kind of things. So that's number one. Number two is insanely cheesy sales tactic right in the beginning. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. And people instinctively know when you're authentic and genuine or when you're reading a script and just being cheesy, right? So I think those are the two main things that are hindering conversion rates right from the gates, right?
Right. Yeah, two things there. I get calls, automated calls all the time from virtual assistants, and there is that lag, that little bleep, and then some dead space, and then finally somebody comes on. So I know it took me a second, but I know exactly what you're talking about there. And yeah, the cheesy stuff, and I'm sure everybody knows what we're talking about there, but maybe that like forced sense of urgency and, if we don't act in the next 10 minutes, this offer's off the table. But one thing that I've heard so much in the last year is we're in the trust economy now. People do business with people they know, that they like, and that they trust. So those things just don't work anymore. Those old kind of used car sales tactics from the 70s and 80s are done.
It's a great way to break trust by coming in with the tone and the pace and the pause of somebody who's over the top, right?
Yeah.
Nobody really speaks like that in real life. So
Yeah.
when you're engaging, and I don't care if it's a cold, warm, or a hot lead, if you come in authentic to yourself in that situation, you're going to grasp their attention a lot longer than you would if you try some of these, tricks and like flashy questions. If you just, come in with that nice steady tone, you're
Yeah.
going to come off different than 95% of the other people that are calling for the same reason.
Yeah, I've always said, as investors, we have to want to help people. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's important. You have to, they have to feel that you're here to help them solve whatever problems keeping them up at night. And you genuinely need to care unless you're psychotic and you can just pretend all of that stuff. So let's talk about this. Are you like for or against scripts? Where are you at on that big hot debate?
So a script is a useful tool, but it's
Hmm.
not the end all be all, right?
Okay.
So what I teach every sales rep that I've ever trained is that the script is your guideline to success.
Hmm. Yeah.
It is not the holy grail of success. I
Hmm.
usually compare it to the people that I'm training to acting, right? I mean, the greatest scripts in the greatest movies and actors in the world, yeah, if it's Scorsese or something like that, they probably had a really great script.
Yeah.
But the greatest actors don't take that script and just read it word for word.
Mhm.
They pour themselves into it. I mean,
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus said very famously, the only reason that I stayed around this long is because I'm a great writer. Because he would
Yes.
take a couple of lines and then turn it into this magnificent thing, right?
Yeah.
So your sales reps need to be able to do the same thing. And the other reason, and I'll kind of piggyback on that, that I don't look at scripts as the end all be all is because the number one thing that allows you to really gain the rapport, gain the trust of a prospect is these two things, is
Yeah.
listening and then asking what I call curiosity questions.
Yeah.
You said this, tell me more about that, right? And you can't script those things out. You have to teach them the psychology behind it, the
Love that.
reason why to do it, and
Mhm.
then it becomes part of their nature. So again, the script is the guideline. It's very
Mhm.
good to put bumpers because compliance is important and those kind of things,
Sure.
but you have to be able to live, eat, and breathe within that guideline as your true self.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's absolutely important. And I know in the beginning, right, a lot of newer reps who are jumping on the phone, like they're nervous, so they have that script, and they don't want to veer off of it because they don't want to make a mistake. Um, is there? I know we talk about acting, but like, what are like a couple of things that can help them feel more natural when they're reading off that script, at least in the beginning, until they just get comfortable and can really embrace it.
So the number one thing that I'll tell them to do is practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
Okay. So any new sales rep, it's not about the game time, it's about the practice. I mean, I was an athlete growing up and the
Yeah.
coaches always just hounded that. You don't win the game in the game, you win it in the prep for the game.
100%.
So, if you're a new sales rep and you want to make this a career, if you want to really own and perfect this craft, it's what you do outside of the times that you're on the phone with the
Mhm.
prospect. It's, I like mirror work a lot, when I'm trying to learn a new pitch or a new presentation, or I'm working with a client that has a product or service that I'm not
Mhm.
really familiar yet. I'll get in front of the mirror and read and utilize body language over and over and over again. I'll annoy the heck out of my wife and my kids because I'll pitch them. I'll call my buddies because I want to perfect it. And the time to perfect it isn't on the phone. Now, the at-bats are important,
Mhm.
but they're not going to be the main thing that gets you to that next level. So practice outside of game time is going to be huge.
I think that's such an important point because some people have this mindset, "Oh, I'm in the office from 9 to 5. I'm going to do it from 9 to 5." And that's just not enough. If you want to be the best of the best, you have to put in the time. You just have to, I don't know, internalize these scripts or the talk track or whatever you want to call it, so that it just
Yeah.
becomes natural, and you can say it over and over and over again in any situation.
Well, we think about sales.
Mhm.
We're not 9 to 5 employees.
No.
If you choose sales as a career path, and
Mhm.
by the way, there's sales in almost every industry on the planet, right?
Yeah.
Sales is the number one revenue generator for every business. But right now we're talking REI. You get into sales because you don't want to cap on how much you can earn, right?
Exactly.
You want to work for commission. You want to make sure that your earnings are reflected by the effort you put in. So why would you have the mentality of I clock in at 9, I clock out at 5? You want to completely blow your earnings potential out of the water, live, eat, breathe, sleep this stuff for a year, 2 years, and just watch your opportunities blossom.
Absolutely. You know, when I have salespeople that come in and like, I want a salary, I'm like, you're probably not going to be the right person for this job. Maybe there's another job that's great for you, but it's not going to be this. You know, we want people that are that hungry, that really want to dive in and just maximize our opportunity. So let me ask you about this: the opponent process theory. Is that
So opponent's process theory is my sales psychology that I've been working on, and that's been evolving for 2.5 decades. And you know, it's basically the roadmap for any sales interaction. There's really 8 parts. There's the intro, current state, future state, the gap, the drop, the presentation, the close, and the helix, right? And these are, and when I was talking earlier about teaching the why, not just the what. So I have all my scripts that will script out based on the opponent's process theory. But when I'm training a new sales department or sales team, I always teach the psychology first.
right?
So that way they understand the why of the script or the guideline, right? And each part of that has different components and breakdowns and, you know, why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing. But yeah, that's what the opponent's process theory is.
Cool. Like you did mention there at the very end, the helix, like is that has to do with like overcoming objections. That's a big thing. I think that's the part where most people jump on the phone and they're just afraid. A lot of times, I've told our reps as we've hired them over the years, like, look, you went through our training, you already know more than 99% of the people out there. Just relax. But overcoming objections, like that's a big fear point for for these people.
Well, I'll help everybody that's watching right now out. That is when the game begins.
Love it.
Right? Everything up to the point where you're overcoming objections is just laying the groundwork of trust and value. Right? I mean, like Jordan Belfort and Grant Cardone and, you know, all the greats out there, Tony Robbins, when he's talking about influence, he says that the person, as long as there is rapport and trust, the person with the most certainty wins. Okay. So all the beginning part of the sales interaction is laying that foundation. So you have the ability to be successful when it comes to the objection or the helix portion. Yeah. And, you know, there's all of these things that are out there right now, like huge rebuttal books on every different question that you could possibly get asked. Simplify that down. Yeah. Okay. There's not 4,000 objections that are out there. There's just not. Right. Yeah. And consumers, I don't care if we're talking motivated sellers for real estate, if we're talking buyers, if we're talking, you know, any other service or product that are out there, they don't have large conventions every year where they're coming up with new objections to throw at us salespeople. Right. Yeah. They all really, you know, boil down to 2 different buckets. One bucket is a stall. The other bucket is a true objection. Okay. So if it's a stall, that's I need to think about it.
My wife, my husband.
Yeah, my wife, right? It's I just don't know. Give me the day. Like those are stalls. And what a stall means is that you haven't created enough need for them to see this as a priority to take action on, right? So you haven't uncovered what their true problems are so you could solve them with your solution of getting their house under contract and moving it quickly. Yeah. People always get their needs. They very rarely get their wants. So if you are just focusing on the pie in the sky, oh, it'd be great to have another, you know, $5,000 or, you know, it'd be great to be out of this house, but it's not a need, they'll very rarely take action. Yeah. So you just need to loop back. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, because I'm fascinated by this. So if you get to that point in the conversation where you get the stall objection, obviously we don't want to be like, wah, 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 like we want to dig in and figure it out. But in those call reviews, is there something where we should be going back on the next time and going, hey, this is something I needed to establish more in the beginning part in that rapport building?
Yes, no, absolutely. If you're getting stalls at a
Mhm.
really big clip,
Yeah.
you have not truly connected with the prospect. That's number
Mhm.
one. So I listen to that part. How are we connecting?
Mhm.
Did the client or the prospect start mirroring our tone, pace, or pause? So there's the old saying mirroring, right? The old,
Yeah.
Sandler method. You mirror the client. If they're from the East Coast, you're from the East. That's BS. Okay, that
No.
doesn't work.
Okay.
What? No, it's old school. Like it just does not work to create true rapport. That's surface level rapport.
Okay.
When
Interesting.
when you want to know how to create true rapport, it could go on for an hour. We don't have that much time here, but how to know that you are in rapport is when the prospect starts to mirror you. So if
Mhm.
I'm lowering my tone from engaged down to, let's say, empathetic, so
Mhm.
my tone is coming down, and then they start to mirror my tone and pace,
Yeah.
we're in alignment, we're in rapport. It's just like if we were face to face and I crossed my arms and you crossed your arms afterwards, we're in some kind of rapport, right?
Nice.
So that's how we know that we've reached that moment. Then
Mhm.
what the next step is did we uncover their true problems and needs, or did we get their surface canned level, same garbage they say to every Tom and Joe on the street, right?
Right.
So we listen to that. Did we ask enough digging questions? Did we get them out of that frontal cortex? Okay,
Yeah.
because again, people get what they need, not what they want. That's what they take action on.
Yeah.
But
And I
those
feel
are the
like
two main things.
yeah, after enough calls, you'll get a sense for whether or not you're just getting their surface level or they're
Yeah.
really opening up and you're getting to the heart of the thing that's keeping them up at night. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So I've always been a big one more time. I've always been a big believer in rapport, but there are some people out there teaching like just go right to it. Hey, Mrs. Smith, what do you want for the house? Why are you selling? Like it's so direct. And I think it probably works sometimes, but I don't know if that's a great strategy or if that's repeatable to teach your team.
Well, I would say if you're feeding your team like bottom dollar leads and
Yeah.
they're just cold calling the white pages, our audience probably doesn't even know what the white pages is. But if
No.
they're just skip tracing 100,000 leads and
Yeah.
throwing them into a dialer, sure, yeah, let's get to the point and just cherry pick the people that actually are interested. But
Right.
if we spend a little bit of money on our leads, if we're doing pay per click or
Yeah.
pay per lead, or even being a little bit more deliberate in our lead flow, paying for marketing, rapport is huge.
Yeah.
It's
I
all
agree.
about return on marketing spend, ROAS, right?
Mhm.
And if we're not building rapport and treating every lead as if it's worth $1 million, we're
Mhm.
doing a disservice to our marketing department, to their company, to the founder, and to our
Mhm.
teammates. So, yeah, by going too quick on the wrong leads, it's really
Yeah.
costing you.
Yeah, I don't love that method of acquisitions. I don't think it's great. I think you're going to just miss more times than you hit. But if you
Yeah.
just got all the leads in the world to burn through and money doesn't matter, I guess knock yourself out.
Yeah, knock yourself out. I mean, that's not my
Mhm.
philosophy. That's not my culture that I create with my sales force.
Yeah.
But to each their own, I guess.
Is there anything in particular where one fear that I had initially that I had to get over, and this is something that a lot of people just hit this wall and I call it like a rotary. They sort of get in the rotary and they can't get out of making the offer, like presenting the offer to people. Like they just get scared. They just really struggle with that, and they're just insides are eating them up, and they say, "Okay, let me put something together and I'll call you back." And of course, by then you've lost the person.
Okay, so the one thing I have to say to those people that have that fear is, look at the standard definition or what people say is fear: false evidence appearing real,
Yeah.
right? Well, let's look at it this way. If you don't ask for their business,
Mhm.
what's the percentage chance you have to gain their business?
Right. Zero.
Zero, right? And why are you on the phone in the first place? It's to
Mhm.
make a sale, to make business. So you
Right.
have to ask.
Yeah.
But you need to fake it till you make it. So
Yeah.
if you don't have the confidence to ask, force yourself to ask and use technology. Use the mute button. Because where I see so many people go wrong is
Yeah.
once they do muster up the courage, let's say, to make the offer, they start talking themselves out of it.
Yeah.
Right? They go, and here's why that's a great offer. It's because of this and this and this. And it's like, oh, you're coming off so uncertain, right? Your confidence is shot at that point. They're
Yeah.
thinking, what's going on? So make the offer, zip the lips, let them process, then
Yeah.
they'll come back with their response. So that's the biggest piece of advice I can make is when you make that offer, stop talking.
Zip it. Awesome. Leif, this was amazing. 20 minutes of just hard hitting, actionable
Let's
content for
go.
people. I appreciate it. I hope that you will come back and we could probably do a whole 20 minutes just on rapport building with sellers. I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
would be amazing. So this was amazing. A lot of people are like, who is this guy? Well, this guy is one of the leaders in our industry, training the big teams that are doing this at scale, doing like what, $40 million a year, like massive numbers.
Some of them, yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool. How can people follow you, connect with you? What's the best way for them to get into your world?
I'm the salesfloorguy.com is my
Okay.
URL. Or, if you just search me on Facebook, Leif Meyerson,
Yeah.
I'll add you as a friend. You can follow me. I'm always putting pretty good content on
Nice.
there. I don't have any like products or digital products to sell.
Yeah.
I'm a very high level consultant, but
Yeah.
I love having these conversations, especially with people like you, David. I mean,
Yeah.
you're such a mover and a shaker, and I'd be
Mhm.
more than willing to come along and come on anytime you want me
Yeah.
to bring some value to your audience.
I love it. We will definitely do that. And you were instrumental in Easy REI closings, our growth. So I do appreciate that. Guys, this is the Closers Club. We will be back again, and hopefully Leif will come back one more time.